also, if this internet goes out, because I think it might at some point, it'll take me a couple of minutes to get it back in because it's just Wi-Fi here, and there's a lot of wind and stormy things going on. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right,
Yeah.
so just don't go anywhere, and then I'll be back. But it's going good right now, so hopefully it'll last for another 2 hours. Okay. So have you guys done anything for participles, or do you want to start with your quiz from last week with any questions?
Yeah.
It's too bad it was
Yeah, but what does it have to do with this?
Quiz from last week or participles?
Okay, so if I spilled something, that's what I would say. What? I'm listening.
Would you like to start with questions from your quiz from last week, or with participles and then go back to that?
Well, let's move ahead. I vote.
Participles.
Participles, okay.
That's a good
Okay, have you guys looked at the chapter at all?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, I did a month ago.
Good job. When you did the workbook before class?
Yep.
Good for you. So then, what is a participle?
Verbal adjective.
Adjective.
I said it first, Richard.
Get fast.
Okay, it is a verbal adjective. And if it is a verbal adjective, then what are the 3 ways that a participle can be used?
Predicatively, sensitively, and that other one. Attributively.
Right, like an adjective.
That's what I said.
Right, it is what you said. Then the other thing that you need to know is how would you parse it? Like what information do you have to include in the parsing?
Down.
Stem.
Them. And,
Number and gender, but not person.
right. And what's the other part of it? Dem is the cow.
And then you gotta do the active or passive.
Right, you have to do the conjugation, which is participle. And you have to say active participle or passive participle.
Which is voice, even though we don't have voice.
Right. Okay. And then if you're asked, how would you diagnose an active participle, what would you answer?
Oh.
Hold on. Over the first continent.
And then what?
I might put Sari, but she said in the video that wasn't important.
Holum is the most important, but if you were asked for a diagnostic, the diagnostic uses the masculine singular, and the masculine singular diagnostic is the holum sere.
Okay.
Okay? But the holum is the one that will tell you, that signifies the most, because it happens in all of them, that it's an active participle. What about a passive participle? How would you diagnose that?
Comets Shurik.
Right. So the question, how do you diagnose it, doesn't throw you off. You know that they're asking for the diagnostics, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Then what about, that means you have 2 paradigms for this chapter. You have the active participle paradigm and the passive participle paradigm.
I do.
You do. And they're small, so it's easier than a full paradigm from the rest of the chapters. So do you know the active participle paradigm?
Yes.
Cool.
I can't speak for everybody. Don't listen to me.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, I wish I had something to write on. I do have something to write on. Look, you can read this if I write on this, right? Sort of?
Yeah, because it's like the moon.
Right. Okay. So then you're going to tell me what these are.
facts are getting dumber and dumber.
Because you're running out of them.
Yeah.
Too many freaking words.
Because they all sound the same after a while.
Can you read that?
Yes.
You just have to not breathe so it doesn't move.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I see it.
So,
Gotta think what's that S.
what? It's a lamed. What's the vowels that go under the masculine singular active participle?
Fulham?
Holum, Terry.
There.
So like that.
Yes.
All right. What about masculine plural?
Fulham?
Holum,
Okay.
Seagull?
with an accent.
I'm on that. Let's stop
Okay, you're doing feminine singular, right?
Yes.
Alright.
We're
Okay,
going down.
not masculine plural.
I go vertical.
Okay, then go vertical. So segal under the tet, and then what?
With an accent. Over the
Yeah.
You don't get your an accent.
Then what comes after? What goes under the lamed?
a seagull.
Seagull.
Then what?
Cow.
A towel. A thou.
What is? What does it say?
That's it.
Less.
With the left.
Hotellus.
Cotelleth, right?
That's what I
And
think.
you have to have the accent
Or you
because you
die.
get points off, right?
Right.
Who knows?
Here you go.
You definitely will. You need accent marks. All right, so keep going vertical. What's the alternate form of the feminine?
Fulham.
Holum.
Okay.
Chihuahua.
Wah.
Okay.
Common. Hey.
Hey.
So the alternate form is the one that looks
Kotala.
right. It looks the most like the feminine singular endings that you know, but the one above it happens more often.
Awesome.
Okay. So what about masculine plural?
Fulham.
Holum. Then
Chihuahua.
Shua.
Uh-huh.
And then Heracule. And then Mem.
Right.
Kodaline.
So it looks like that.
Looks like that.
What about the feminine plural?
Holum. Shua.
Chihuahua.
And
Fulham.
Vav.
Cow.
And then Thou.
Like that?
Yeah.
Okay. So the endings, they should look pretty familiar to how you inflect adjectives and nouns. So that shouldn't throw you off. The things that you have to pay attention to is where the schwas are and where the accents are. But there's always the holum. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
What are the only active participles that don't have the holum in it?
I missed that part.
That's a good question.
All of the weak forms have the holum except for this one kind.
Is it the bicon?
No.
Not the bicon?
I don't know.
Like
It's the
constant.
geminate.
Geminate.
Gemini.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
What? But we're looking at. But it's not. Also Vicon.
That's Gemini.
Or
So-
did I say that backwards?
I think you said it backwards.
I said it backwards.
I think Richard was right.
What did Richard say?
All right.
It's the bicon.
Yeah. Oh, I lost my thing.
I don't even see Geminates. I lied. I mean, I found them. Yeah.
Now you
that's
confuse
step
me.
one, Barkat's an open.
Bosch. Bosch. You should be Bosch.
It's the bicons, not the geminate.
You were
Richard
testing.
was right. So what about the passive participles?
What about them?
They're awesome.
Do you know that paradigm too?
Yes.
Not much sure at the diagnostic.
Right. And this one doesn't have an alternate feminine form.
I'm not going to forget this mnemonic now. Thanks.
So what are the vowels for the masculine singular?
Comma.
That's correct.
Shrek.
Where's the shurek?
After the tet.
That's it. Constant.
I'm sure you can rise in it.
What's the word? What am I saying? What do you want me to say?
So like this?
Yes?
Okay, so then go down. So what's the feminine singular?
Schwa.
Correct.
Schwa, Shrek.
Okay.
Comma, te. I was thinking
Like that? Can you
You're
see
not
it?
moving.
Yes.
Okay. Then what is the masculine plural?
Schwa, Shrek, Herikyo, Mem. See, I know stuff.
Like that?
Yes?
Yeah.
You're
Okay.
asking- Yeah.
Then what is the feminine plural?
Schwa, Shrek. All involved. Thou.
Like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you know the paradigms,
I do.
which means you should be able to recognize them pretty clearly.
Totally
The only other one,
Those are not the same skill.
the ones that look a little differently are the third hay ones,
Uh-huh.
but the third hay still has the holum, and the hay is just dropping off of the end of it, which is what the hay always does. So it shouldn't bother you too much.
Incorrect.
Okay?
You say that now.
It won't bother you too much because you'll have these paradigms. And you can just write down all the paradigms that you know before you start taking a quiz. And maybe even the paradigm will be a question on a quiz. And then you just use it.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Types of paradigms. If I were like guessing which
Yeah.
paradigms, other than the obvious participle paradigms, would be added to this quiz, how would I best guess?
How would you best guess which paradigms are on the quiz that's focusing on participles?
Other than the obvious passive participle.
Can I just take my quiz?
I would be,
Like,
if I were you,
no problem.
practicing all of the paradigms that I'm supposed to know, which at this point comes to how many?
I promise that I don't Bible.
Perfect.
We really
Cal
don't.
Perfect Strong, Cal Perfect Third Hay, Cal Perfect Bicon, then Cal Imperfect Strong,
Huh?
Cal Imperfect Third Hay,
Oh, okay.
Imperative,
Yep.
Cal Imperative,
Mm-hmm.
Cal Participle Active, and Cal Participle Passive.
Yep. Check.
Eight.
even if they weren't on this quiz, you have a big quiz on Saturday that's
Mega
supposed
quiz.
to review everything
Mecha
that
quiz.
you've learned so far.
I don't have time to learn stuff I've already learned. I have to learn stuff I haven't learned yet.
It's a review, though. I think it's called a double review quiz.
Is that like a double secret probation?
It's exactly like that.
Good. Sorry.
So you should always practice all of your paradigms and know all of them in case they were to show up on a quiz at any time. But particularly for a participle-focused quiz, I might consider really paying attention to the participle paradigms.
Sound like
Elephant.
Does that help?
Yeah.
this week.
Good.
Of our, not to be confused with,
All right.
but they're very close to the same.
Have you gone through any of the workbook yet
What? How far to cover?
for Chapter 22?
I mean, I put in answers, if that's what you're asking.
I don't think that's what she's asking.
Sort of. Okay, I didn't mean to ask that, obviously. Do you have questions on how to translate participles,
Well,
either attributively, predicatively, or substantively?
I think it just takes some practice. Let's do some in the workbook.
but not the ones we're assigned.
Okay. We can do that.
Sorry, I filled it.
I don't have the assignment ones in front of me. Well, I do. I just don't want to find them. So you have to tell me which numbers.
No, I don't really care. It doesn't
Also, I don't think you're assigned anything for Chapter 23 in the workbook, are you?
No.
That might be a good chapter for reviewing.
Prior to
It's going to review all of the different kind of verbal things, and it'll be all different translations. It would be a lot of practice with translating.
Good.
You wanted to sort of get ready for the Friday or the Saturday double quiz.
Saturday will be the double quiz. So you're definitely going to review on Friday night with her. But if you wanted to review more, Chapter 23 would probably be helpful.
Cool.
Okay. So, okay. So do you want to do the parsing for participles first, or do you want to just go to translations and practice that?
I'm good either way.
You're good either way? Okay. Then we're going to do the translations,
That makes sense.
because you're going to parse the translations for me and translate them. So do you all have your workbooks?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good, because I don't want to write these out.
What page are we on?
You're on page 181. And for right now, I'm going to skip the ones that you were assigned. Unless you have questions on any of the assigned ones, then I'll go back to them. But 181, start with number 7. So you have a string of Hebrew in front of you. What do you have to look for first?
Verb.
Verb. So where's the verb?
Have a participle at the beginning.
You. So you've got, as far as parsing's concerned, you already know that it's cal because you still don't know anything else.
Right?
And you have participle, but is it active or passive?
It's active.
Okay. And is it, what's the gender and number?
Masculine plural.
Plural.
Good. And then what's the lexical form?
Yashav.
With,
Okay. Which means what?
To dwell.
To sit or dwell.
Good. All right. So I would just put down sitting or dwelling just with an ing just to put it there and hold it so you can figure out later whether you're going to translate it as substantively or predicatively or attributively. So then what comes next?
Looks like the noun zakim, which is the subject,
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely.
definite subject.
Like, or king. So the
What does that mean?
It's older.
Yeah, the elder.
The elder.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what?
And
And yes, you are correct.
Bill, Bana. So is that like a Bob consecutive on a participle?
That's that. How is that a participle? Your participle takes pronominal endings, pronominal suffixes.
that's
Yes.
Yeah, it can. But what else can take a pronominal suffix?
An infinitive.
Right?
Oh,
So you have to look there then. What's the diagnostic? Is that a diagnostic for an infinitive or for a participle?
oh,
It's
it's
a
uh-oh.
participle.
No, it's uh-oh. It looks like an infinitive.
Right.
That's the problem is that you've got. Yeah, it's uh-oh because it'd be a shrek if it were a participle.
Right.
Yeah.
And the holum would be in the front, not in the middle, right? If it were a participle?
Exactly.
Well, the passive ones, the only time that's the case is in the 3MS.
That's true.
The rest of the time it's schwa.
Right. But with the passive ones, you wouldn't have a holum bob, you would have a shurek.
Right.
So what I'm saying is you don't have the holum and you don't have a shurek, so it's probably not a participle.
Right.
So then you need to decide if it's an infinitive construct or if it's an imperative. Because both have the diagnostic uh-oh. So which one is it?
It's an excellent question.
What?
So that's an excellent question.
I have faith in you guys. I'm pretty positive you'll figure it out.
Well, hmm.
Right.
I'm it's a third, isn't it a third singular ending?
What kind of ending are you looking at?
I mean, I could be off, but the kamats yod vav, isn't that a third masculine singular ending? Oh no, I'm sorry, it's a type 2, right?
Type 2 what is what I'm asking.
No suffix.
Right.
Right.
That's what I mean. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I just want to make
We're all
sure
fine.
everyone knew what you were talking about.
Yeah, so if it's a 3MS, it can't be an imperative.
Can't be imperative.
Right.
It has to be a
Infinitive.
infinitive construct.
Right.
Okay.
Good.
All right. With you.
Okay. So then the infinitive construct, how do you translate those?
A couple ways.
It depends.
A
Is it emphatic? Is it?
Is it with a two?
It's not emphatic.
so it could be like, and so it's got a pronominal suffix.
No, it's two. To build. And to build.
Could be
Build.
building. And building. Could be a gerund.
Yeah. Could be a gerund.
What do we say that? No.
Okay, so those are your two options, and to build or and building,
Pretty much.
right?
Yeah.
So just keep both of those in mind because it's the context of the rest of the sentence that's going to tell you which one works better. You just have to know what your options are first before you keep going.
So our two options are to build or building, right?
What?
So our two options are either to build or building.
Yeah. Okay. And then what does that pronominal suffix tell you?
Either his or be his building.
When it's on an infinitive construct, is it giving you possession?
Oh, it's gonna
No. It's either the subject or the object.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh.
So then what's the next word?
In the city.
Yeah.
And the word after that?
Um,
Oh, it's the wicked or evil city, right? The evil. Right?
no. Yeah, hold on.
Is it the evil? The evil? Am I crazy?
Well, actually, that would make sense. The evil or wicked city.
I think it's the
Right.
evil.
Yeah. It's an adjective.
What kind of adjective is it?
It's an attributive.
Period.
Right. Okay. So then you have dwelling, the elder, and to build or building in the evil city. So how would you put that together? Now that you have, before you do that, now that you have the rest, the beginning part of that sentence, is the participle attributive, predicative, or substantival?
I think it's predicative.
I agree.
I think you're right. So if it's a predicative participle, then how would you just translate that first part?
The elder is sitting.
Right. The elder is sitting or dwelling.
Yeah, dwelling.
Dwelling. Sorry, dwelling.
Okay. So you got the first part. The elder is dwelling. And
And he is building
And
or in building it in the wicked city.
yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
if
and
it's
It's to build. Hold on. It's
Uh-huh.
an infinitive. So I think it has to be building it.
yeah,
Yeah,
so does that make sense? If you just put and building it, do we have to have the is?
Yeah, because
The
I don't
elder
think you have to have the is.
the elder is dwelling and building it.
it can be object
Yeah, the
And-
elder is dwelling and building it.
if it's an infinitive construct. That's what it is. It's an infinitive construct, nominal subject, object.
In the evil city.
In the evil city.
Right. That's it. You got it. You want to go to the next one, or are you confused still?
Wait, so the elder is building it in the wicked city.
The elders dwell
Hey
in it.
guys, we're massively off, by the way. What we're saying is building is not an infinitive. It's actually daughters. It's a noun.
The elder and his daughters.
Yeah, the elder and his daughters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure it is.
It is. I'm telling you.
It is.
You're absolutely right.
The elder and his daughters.
And this is exactly what I was afraid of would happen with participles. Exactly.
But it's not participles. It's infinitive construct.
True. But we're at participles.
Good thing it's an intuitive language.
Yeah.
There's a place somewhere that tells you how to tell the difference.
I need to know that place.
I want to go to there.
Oh, I want to live in that place.
So, is it the elder and his daughters are dwelling?
Yeah, the elders and his daughters are dwelling in the wicked city.
Yeah. Man, we were just about to make that older, and you're really bad at that.
Okay. Oh.
Man, how are the people who aren't getting tutoring doing?
Better than us, apparently.
Nah.
Yeah, that's what it says in the answer key. The old man and his daughters are dwelling in the wicked city.
Oh.
Okay, I'm going to find the place because I know I saw it. I'm going to find the place that tells you how you can tell the difference. And then I'm going to email you guys. I don't want to find it now because I think it'll take me a while. And there are other ones that you have to translate.
Alyssa,
Yes.
naturally, wouldn't it... Does the infinitive have the oath ending?
Infinitive construct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does for the third hey, doesn't it? Okay.
Yeah.
So we're saying it should have had the oath ending?
No, it does.
No, I'm saying if it had been gone off.
Yeah. Hold on one second.
Oh yeah, well, because it does. Right, right.
Okay.
Yep.
I think that if that were going to be an infinitive construct, I think that's what it is. No, that's not right. Hold on.
I think it's just one of those words you got to suck it up and say it could be either one.
Yeah. Except I think that if it were an infinitive construct with a pronominal suffix, there would be a comment underneath the bait instead of a schwa.
You may be right, but it also is important to notice that infinitive constructs take type 1 endings,
Yeah.
not type 2.
Ooh.
Okay, so both of those things. If you see a type 2 ending, particularly in this instance, because I think this is really the confusing one, I don't think it would come up all that much otherwise. But the type 2 will tell you that it's the noun and the schwa underneath the bait rather than a comment.
Yeah, because it does look like it always has. Yeah.
Where do you see that, Alyssa? Is that in the book?
See what?
That the bana has a kamatz under it?
Not specifically that, but if you look at the paradigm on page 242 for infinitive constructs with pronominal suffixes on them, the schwa that's normally under the first consonant for infinitive constructs changes to a comment.
I see that, yes.
Yeah, that is nice.
Okay,
There you go.
sounds good.
There you have it.
Does that work when you attach a vav to it?
Yes.
Really? Because doesn't daughters have a comments or a pathak on it?
Comments.
Yeah.
No.
So if they both have comments when something's prefixed to it, do they both shift to a schwa because they're following the same rules? I'm sorry, we're probably staying too long on this. Whatever.
That's okay. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't rely on the comments thing. Rely on whether it's a type 1 or type 2 suffix.
Okay.
But if there is, because the noun can take type 1 or type 2. So if it happens to be type 1 and it's the noun, then it's just going to be context. And if you are doing this with translations in general, there's going to be a lot more context than 5 words.
So I'll just if this one shows up on a quiz, we'll get it wrong, and we'll just be okay when we use our program later.
Well, if this one shows up on a quiz now, chances are it would be straight from this workbook, and you would know it because we've just spent 20 minutes on it.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Not sorry.
And this one was not assigned in the workbook, and I wonder if that's because...
It was probably, I don't know why it wasn't assigned. I'm not even going to make a guess. But,
You don't know.
yeah. But now you know that it's confusing, and that will be helpful later on.
Yep. That's
Hey, Alyssa, I just joined.
Hey.
Oh, hi, Francis.
I'm trying to multitask, so I'm going to put my camera, turn off my camera.
All right, we'll miss you.
But I'll be listening in.
Okay, let me know if you have any questions. Just stop me, okay?
Sure, thank you.
Okay. You want to go to number 8?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. So what do you find first?
The verb.
Where is it?
I don't know. Just cut it off.
It's probably in your workbook.
Yeah, could be.
It's my workbook. The verb is in the workbook.
Well, the first thing it looks like is the object.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's gotta be a substantive participle.
What?
Where?
I heard substantive and participle, so where is it?
See the participle at ha yoshev.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Is that right? Does a participle take a definite article? It does, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Huh? Why would it take a definite article?
Because
it works like an adjective.
It's a verbal adjective.
Right.
Yeah. I just needed to throw out the question there because I haven't read the chapter yet. My bad.
That's fine. So it has a definite article on it, and it's a participle, so you know it's cal. Is it active or passive?
Active.
Good. And what's the gender and number?
Masculine singular.
That's the thing.
Good. Okay. So how do you translate it? First, you have to decide if it's attributive or predicative or substantive.
Sorry, which one are you on page number, please?
Page 181, number 8 of your workbook.
Well, looks
It
like
acts like an adjective. So if you were looking at an adjective right there,
I'm thinking it's attributive.
attributive. Why do you think it's attributive?
Because it looks like it's agreeing in definiteness.
Shouldn't we find the subject first, so we know? What is it agreeing with? Or does it
Yeah,
have?
what do you think it's agreeing with?
Well, not the land and the sea.
Why not?
It could be.
Did they do a lot of sitting or dwelling, land and seas?
That's a fair point.
Hold on. Where are we seeing C's?
Have a
That looks to me like
They're not
Which
sea?
is it?
it looks to me like people.
Okay, so then they could be dwelling in the land.
It does look like the people.
Because yam is sea, is people.
I'm just saying we should determine that first before we determine whether or not what the participle is doing.
Okay, so then you have the
And-
participle there. Then what's before the participle? How do you translate it?
The land and the
The
people.
land of the people.
Land of the people.
Okay.
Are
Right.
we wrong?
And it agrees on definite.
And then what comes after?
Can't figure out what this is.
What comes after your participle?
It looks like the main verb.
Which is what?
Allah
Allah.
with a pronominal suffix.
Okay. What does Allah mean?
It means to go up.
Okay, and how would you parse that?
It looks to me like it is third feminine. Oh no, hold on a second.
Okay.
Two. Is it 2MS? I'm guessing.
Say something about a nominal suffix.
Yeah, it would be.
That's 3FS, right?
Take the pronominal suffix off of it. Because you can't get the pronominal suffix parsing confused with the verb parsing.
Sure, okay.
Hey, Alyssa, that's not a pronominal suffix. It's a 2MS verb. That's
It's
the
what? What is it?
It's not a pronominal suffix. It's a 2MS verb. That's the ending for a third hey 2MS verb. And it looks like a
Okay.
perfect.
Okay.
Cal Perfect 2ms. So, oh, it is a pronominal suffix. I'm sorry. It's the suffix, but it's just the regular ending for a third hey verb. I don't want us to think it's a... Never mind. Ignore me.
For a Cal Perfect third hey?
Okay, so you have the Cal Perfect part.
Cal Perfect 2ms from Allah.
Ah. Yeah.
And then what's the pronominal suffix on it?
It's the 2ms ending. It's not a pronominal suffix.
Okay.
Because it's a third hey verb. The third hey paradigm is bonita. Oh, but that's a hey. Crap. No, you're right. I'm sorry. I'm wrong. I'm trying to make the hey a towel.
Don't do
Right,
that.
right. There's a tau there.
Yeah, there's a towel on the 2ms. Okay, never mind.
Okay.
Suck at life.
Not quite that, but
So the yod is
it'd be a 3fs then.
Oh, sure.
well, even with a 3fs, there's a ta.
Would that be a type 2 ending?
No, 3fs pronominal suffix.
Right, right, yeah.
Yeah, and it's an alternate suffix.
Type 2 though.
Yeah, that is a
With the segol and the yod, yes. Type 2.
okay, so here's a question. Is it a verb?
That's what my
Oh,
question is.
Al.
I don't
it could be
think
the
it's a verb.
preposition.
It's a preposition. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's a verb. I mean, that was
See, this is the junk that irritates me. They're all the same. Everything's the same.
everything's the same.
Except for when you were trying to make it a verb, you were running into all sorts of problems. Because
Yeah. Well,
you
looking at
didn't
the
have any possible way of knowing, because that ending that was there didn't have anything to do with any of your Cal Perfect verb endings. And so it was difficult for you to tell me what the ending was for the verb because there wasn't one.
It does make it harder.
Right. So then once you try and make it a verb and it can't be a verb, then you got to start thinking about the other words that you know that look like that but don't have an invisible hey attached to it.
On.
Another strong endorsement for Greek. Things don't pretend they're other things. Words are just what they are.
Well, this is not pretending. You were just confused.
To be fair, I never endorsed whether or not it was a verb, one way or the other.
All right, so what is it?
It's the all preposition with the pronominal suffix.
So translate it.
On.
On them.
On
Her.
her, right?
It's
Or her.
her or it.
Oh, it is her because it's just expected.
On her or it. And then what's the next word?
I'm just gonna shut you.
So that's a prefix,
I don't recognize it.
imperfect, definitely, correct?
What's the verb? If that's an imperfect, then it has to be a verb. So what's the verb that you're looking at?
The ra'ah,
3FS.
Ra'ah. What's ra'ah?
see? Well, it's got that et before it. That could be wrong.
So then, if it were a Cal imperfect, then how would you parse it?
3FS. So she would see. I think
For no
it's
fast?
kind of off because we usually found the main verb by this point in the sentence. It's the last word.
Right. So translate that main verb.
Yeah, it's well, yeah, it's your
If it's Calum Perfect 3FS
mhm.
to see, then how would you translate that?
She will see.
She will see,
Okay.
she will absorb, she will see.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So I guess the sentence starts with the verb, right? She will see.
What do the people will see?
Well, they're the object.
Yeah, they have to be the object.
So she will see the land and the people dwelling on her.
Awful.
It could be her or it.
Mhm.
No, it's the earth talking. And people are gonna be dwelling on her.
Dwelling in it. Sorry.
It's all right.
The worst.
On it,
It could be.
maybe that's referring. Uh,
It could
What
be.
about that participle?
no,
Hey, wait, Alyssa. Will a participle take both of the nouns if it's connected with a verb, or would there be two participles per those two nouns? So, are only the people dwelling in the land? So, you will see the land and the people dwelling in it. The people dwelling in it.
Do participles dangle like English?
Yeah.
Is what he's asking.
Is the participle only connected to the people, not because of the land with the verb?
No, you can't, because of that Vav there, you can't separate the people and the land.
Okay.
But you know what you could do that would make it a little bit easier? Think of your imperfect paradigm. You have yivne, tivne, tivne. So that
Oh,
You. It's second person.
it's second person.
mhm.
You will see
This is what I said. Like
the land and the people dwelling
on it.
on it.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
Now the question is the participle acting attributively? I mean, it is following, but
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It sounds like it's only being used for one.
it sounds like we need to have a relative pronoun here.
I think you do.
Yeah, I think it's one of those that it's like the you see the land and the people that are dwelling on it.
Well,
Yeah, so the participle only applies to the people, not the land,
Because the land is not dwelling
on itself.
on itself.
Or maybe it is, because this language is stupid.
yeah, I think
So the are lay.
I can tell you
Right.
the answer. We've got the answer right here.
So the are lay would be translated on it or all.
So it is only for people. It is only for
Okay.
people. Yeah. So it's you will see the land and the people who dwell on it. That's the answer. Out of the answer key.
You will see the land in.
For people
Or
who-
it can be she will see, correct?
No, it's 2ms. What? I guess it could be.
It could be,
It could
but more
be.
likely not.
Could be.
It could be 3FS or it could be 2MS.
Yeah. The yivne tivne is your verb. I mean,
But you
for the
The land and the people who dwell on it.
Right.
Or she will. That's fine. I don't care.
But yeah, inserting the relative pronoun, knowing that I can do that, helps.
Yeah.
I just didn't think I had the liberty to do something like that. I thought I'd have to see a relative pronoun.
No, you have the liberty with participles.
Okay, so it's kind of like a Greek participle in that sense. It's overly fluid. It can do literally anything.
Perhaps not literally, but yeah.
But you could have theoretically put that in the people dwelling on it. I mean, that would have been okay. It wouldn't have been as good as who dwell, but it still would have been.
When it is, that's why you have to know if it's attributive or predicative or substantive. Because with the attributive, you're more often than not going to have to supply a relative pronoun. But with the predicative, you're more likely going to supply the to be verb.
So are we saying this is functioning substantively? Or are we saying it's attributive? Or just the way we're forming it? Because it would make sense to say, you will see the land and the dwelling people on it.
You could say that.
It's sort of the same thing as saying the people who dwell on it.
Right. But
So
either
is it
way, that's
attributive?
attributive.
Huh?
Either way, that's attributive.
Right. Either way, that's attributive. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So it's attributive.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
attributed.
So say it again. How is it translated?
You will see the land and the people who dwell on it.
Good job. You want to do more?
I'm not encouraged at all.
I'm a broken man.
The hard part is figuring out the order that makes the most sense and figuring out how the participle is functioning and what the verb is modifying.
Yeah.
But it's a lot easier when you have, it doesn't seem like it, but it's easier when you have more context going on. So it might be easier to look at the Bible translations, which are a little bit longer.
Okay.
okay, so just for knowing the accurate translation, the ha yo shave, what's the right way for the active participle, right? With the definite article. How would we translate that? The
Well,
particular verb?
it depends on how it's functioning in the sentence, because you translate it differently when it's attributive and when it's predicative and when it's substantival. You supply different helping words depending on which it is. But you can start with just adding an ing to the noun that the verb that you're looking at. So yashav is sitting or dwelling. And just start with that, dwelling. And then when you go through the rest and you figure out if it is attributive or predicative or substantival, then you'll know what some of your options are for adding just different helping words. If you look at page 263 in your book, it gives you different examples of how to translate it when it when it's an attributive participle and when it's a predicative participle. And it starts talking on that page about substantival use as well, and that goes on to page 264. Okay. Do you want to keep going in this section, or do you want to go to Bible translation?
Well, the thing is, on a quiz, is she's less likely to give us a Bible translation.
Let me try to answer that as vaguely and specifically at the same time as possible.
What's the question?
Would it be closer to a Bible translation or one of these shorter translations on a quiz?
Yeah.
Listen, my problem is that if I had enough time and I had the book, I mean, it's one of those languages that I could fight through and figure out what it is. But on a quiz without the book and anything else, I'm not going to be able to fight through and figure out some of this stuff. It's too identical. I mean, they're just alike.
Yeah.
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 I completely agree.
Yeah.
That
With enough time and some tools, I'll figure it out. Like, I'll do
Right.
fine probably in exegesis, but right now at this level in Hebrew 2 with nothing, and you're supposed to be able to inflect and do all this, it's like pulling teeth because it's not, you need the resources almost to do it. So,
Right. And that's
it's kind of hilarious because I find myself writing out all the resources right before I do the quiz, and it all makes. And then I just use those. But like it's like 10 seconds ago, I had the resources.
yeah.
It's just kind of silly.
I mean, I agree with Joe because, I mean, I don't know if I'm the only one, but it just seemed to me too many paradigms and too many translations in one quiz. So I don't know if I'm the only one. I did write, however, all the paradigms before I started
yeah.
and sort of used my own reference, used it
Uh-huh.
as my own reference. But still, it's like just the intricacies, the nuances are those that get me.
The nuances and the intricacies are not going to start to make sense until you have more time with it. And so it seems, I think it can seem like you're not actually learning anything or you're not retaining anything other than paradigms and charts for the time that you're in Hebrew 1 and Hebrew 2. And that's kind of true. That is what you're doing. But if you rely on those at this point and you use them as resources while you're taking your quizzes and your tests, then eventually it's that the nuances start to make sense, and a lot of them just don't make as much sense until you are doing exegesis anyway, because you're seeing how the differences and the syntax change and are fluid in context. So what I'm saying is you should probably just keep relying on writing out as many of the paradigms as you need to for your own reference for the quizzes, and then just do that until you're more comfortable with them and until you can sit through the quiz without doing it. But honestly, I did it all the way through Hebrew 2. Everything that I knew, everything that kind of confused me, so just like even things like attributive translation and substantival translation and predicative translation, the things that kind of left my head when I was trying to do chunks of Hebrew all at once, I just kind of put it down and use it as my own reference because there was no other way that I could retain what I was doing. And it's because you are getting a whole lot of information, and there's a lot of intricacies that they're trying to explain to you and introduce you to from the get-go, and it's just too much for your brain to retain. And it's not because of any other reason than you just don't have enough exposure to the language. And so you just are going to have to keep going bit by bit and understand that that's all you can do for right now. So what I was saying, Joseph, because I know you asked the question initially, is just put everything on the quiz that you need to help you remind yourself, because you're not going to understand all of the nuances right away. A lot of them aren't going to make sense until you start seeing them in context in your exegesis classes, because there's more, you're spending more time trying to figure that out at that point. Right now you're just trying to understand the way things look morphologically and how to recognize them. And so to expect that you're going to be able to do all of that on a quiz without putting the resources down that you need you're just not. You're not going to be able to. And it's not because you can't. It's just because of how much you know and how much you don't know.
You know what I think would be useful is if I didn't spend this week doing the exercises for Chapter 27, so I could pay attention to Chapter 22. Because I did Chapter 27, and I don't even know what that's about, but I did it.
Good for you. But now you can do Chapter 22 today and tomorrow and Wednesday before you take your quiz.
No, because I did that a month ago.
You did. But there are other ones that weren't assigned.
I'm glad we have you, Alyssa.
And let's see.
I think they should give you a raise.
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue with that. Let's see. I think, though, before you get too worried this week about understanding the nuances, you should make sure you feel comfortable with parsing.
All right, let's do some of that.
And you've parsed all of the participles that have come up really well.
You totally did. Mostly Joseph. He's smarter than us.
Well, there's one in every bunch.
I think we also had a couple of things for participles that weren't.
I'm just engaged.
Yes.
It's hard to learn.
Let's talk about some passive ones. We haven't done any passive ones yet.
That's a good idea.
Because the book says, you know, that we translate him with the being, which is what I'm familiar with, but then all the Bible verses that they gave us in the book, none of them had being, and it didn't make any sense.
Which one are you talking about?
Being, or are
Being.
you talking about passive, or are you
Passive.
talking just in general?
Passive participles. And then the examples of passive participles that they gave us, none of them used the being word.
I thought it was just ED.
Well, I think, as far as translating participles is concerned, the book gives you a lot of information about active and passive, but if you look at your Hebrew Helps handout, which it's the last page of your Hebrew Helps handout, there's no more helps after this. To translate a passive one, you just add ed to the verb instead of being. And what will decide whether you need a to be verb or not is whether it is predicative or not.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yep, a lot.
Okay. And since they function like adjectives, what are the most common kind of adjectives?
Attributive.
Attributive. So that means with participles, they're probably going to be most commonly attributive as well. And what is what do you have to supply for attributive participles?
Active or passive?
No, just the I mean,
The predicative to be verb.
to be verb is predicative. For attributive, what do you have to supply most often?
ing.
Yes. What's the helping kind of word?
The.
Being.
Who or that?
Right, which is a relative pronoun.
All right.
So most often, you'll probably have an attributive participle, which means you'll most often need a relative pronoun. But if you have predicative, then you're more likely going to use the to be verb. So with active participles, you're going to add the ing, and with passive participles, you're going to add ed. And then you need to decide whether it's attributive, predicative, or substantival to figure out what else you need to add.
Alyssa, on
Yeah.
266, of the textbook, it has use of the cow passive participles in predicative predicative use.
Was that the whole question?
I just answered it in my head, so sorry.
All right. Good job.
It's so good you don't even need to talk.
What?
It's so good you don't even need to talk.
Huh, I get that a lot. All right. I just need to find my pen. Okay. I'm going to give you examples of participles, and you're going to parse them for me.
Let's do it.
Let's do this thing.
We'll deal with translations later.
Ooh.
Hey, Richard, I thought you were coming down to Switzerland today.
No,
I brought my sweater vest so you wouldn't feel out of place.
I appreciate it, but I have a foreign-built car. Is that one of those things where I can't get into the county? And what county are you guys even in? Are you in Duval?
We're
No.
in St. John's.
Yeah.
See you, Matt.
All right, all kinds of these.
What happened to Sharon? She doesn't need tutoring anymore? She's smarter than us?
I don't know if she's back from her army thing in California yet.
Ew. Sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Hey, Richard.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see me because
I can't.
Alyssa's making sounds, so I'll make all the sounds. I'm making sounds. You're making sounds. It takes me.
Sorry.
You know, Richard.
I know.
All right.
How about that chapter 27, huh? That was awesome. Love me some PL stems.
All right, I'm just giving you a bunch of examples, and they're not all participles.
Oh no.
You're
Yeah.
fixing it. You know it.
Should we write these down?
I mean, if it's easier for you to parse that way,
Yeah, that's what I meant.
then yes, definitely write them down.
I'm ready. Is this mine?
I find it a lot easier to talk to you.
Okay. This is annoying. Okay. Hold on.
Holding.
Thank you. Okay, first one first.
Oh my gosh, I can't see it.
Can you see
Stop
it?
talking, Richard.
Everyone stop talking. Can you see it?
Is it the one on top or bottom?
I don't know. The one on top.
Benoth?
Yes.
That's
What's the stem?
It's Bana. It's Cal. Sorry.
Did we just go over that? Isn't that daughters?
No, it would be if it had a.
I'm joking.
Okay.
Benoth is it's Cal. It's a participle. It's
Active.
Feminine plural, and it's from Bana.
I thought this was an imperative. With the oath ending?
Yeah, with the oath ending.
Oh, actually, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it is an imperative.
I vote imperative.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah, because it'd be Bonoth if
I love Bonos.
it were.
Oh, that's Bonos. That's what I love. I love barbecue.
Right.
It's
So
uh-oh.
look at page 62, 262.
It says uh-oh on it.
Yeah.
Right. It's uh-oh.
And the third hey always has the oath.
Oh is different.
You're right. So,
Different.
uh-oh then is either an infinitive construct or an imperative. So which one is this?
Oh, Banane. Oh, construct? In a second.
No.
Or an imperative.
Oh, the constructs always have an oath ending, I guess. Okay, not the imperative.
Right. Look. Because what would be your imperative?
Banane?
Okay. Because imperative, do you remember your imperative is going to mimic
Something.
your imperfect without the prefix, right?
Right.
Right. So then, does this look like any of the endings for imperfect, either 2ms or 2fs or 2mp or 2fp?
No.
Okay. So then it can't be imperative.
This is your infinitive construct.
Right.
Lord.
So, what's the information you have to supply in parsing an infinitive construct?
Now.
Cal,
Yeah.
infinitive construct. And then the lexical form. So what's the lexical form?
Bana.
Bana. How do you spell it?
2 comets.
Yay. Good. So what's the one underneath it? Wait, before you do that, how would you translate the infinitive construct?
With like the English gerund, I guess to build or building.
Yeah.
Right. The next one.
It's kind of moving around.
Like this? That's not helpful. Hold on. Oh.
Okay.
Okay, stop talking. So it's there again. Can you see it?
Lale. Cat.
Right. What's it look like?
Looks like an active participle, feminine singular.
Good.
Weird.
What's the lexical form?
I don't know. Weird word.
Is it a word that you have?
No.
Okay.
So it's lalak.
Laka.
It's lalak.
Lalak.
Am I right?
Why would it not be laka?
Because there's two. Never mind. I don't care.
No, don't say never mind. Because why?
Because there would be too many lamek.
Right, there are too many laments there. So,
So
if
it's
you wanted to,
Lalak, whatever that means.
right.
I guess we would just have to guess.
It's part of my problem because I always want to go to a whole
It's a participle to be queenly.
There is that possibility.
It's to be full of crap.
Oh.
It's a stative verb for garbage.
But now I have another question for you.
I said what I said. Yeah, what's up? What do you got?
So it kind of looks like a participle because of the two seagulls and
Yes.
the cow. But in order for it to be a participle, what does that vowel have to be underneath the first lamed?
Oh no, it's got to be a whole.
Does it?
For active, you got OA,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
The holum and the sere.
Right.
For the passive, you've got comets and the shurek.
Good.
For the
So
perfect.
you need a holum here instead of a comments here in order for this to be a participle.
Okay, so then it's a inseparable preposition.
Okay. On what?
La-ka.
Yeah. So then take that inseparable preposition off of it for a second.
Done.
Good. Then now parse that, because you still have to parse the la ka part of it. It's cow.
Now. Ah.
I don't know.
Laka.
What? Why does it have doubles of gold?
Cat.
Is everyone else having this much trouble? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Oh, is it? Is it an infinitive construct?
Is it?
Uh,
Well, that would have an oath, right? Not
I
sure.
don't know. Lukaku's always got weird forms, so
It does always have weird forms. Why don't you look at page 240 in your book?
I don't
is it
have
an infinitive construct?
listen.
It is an infinitive construct. Remember when we were doing infinitive constructs and I told you that la ka has a really weird form and you should just learn it like a vocab word?
I've got written next to mine. Alyssa says vocab.
Right. So now that you're looking at it, here's the other thing. Is that la ka or is it halak?
Oh, yes, a lot. Yeah. I don't like that.
Because do you remember the three that just have really weird forms? What they
Yes.
are? Nathan, la ka, and halak?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the weird form with one we were taught in the class was the to walk, right? The lake or lock.
Halak is to walk.
Don't
Nathan,
remember.
not in infinitive
Right.
construct. Well, yeah, in infinitive construct too. Nathan has a weird form too, which is what?
Tith. Taith.
Tate.
Kate.
Nathan?
Yeah, it's
Kate.
Tao.
No. That is the form. Sorry, that's not what I meant. You're right. But I meant, what does it mean?
To give.
To take.
Which one's to take?
Take.
Cause to take.
Lakah is to take, Nathan is to give, and Halak is to walk. Those three in basically the last like 4 chapters that you've learned have weird forms.
I feel like that was a Dr. Seuss book.
So do we have an example of waka in the infinitive construct?
It would,
It'd just be a third hey, right? Like bana?
yeah, it would look like a third hey.
Okay.
Right, but I thought the first one is a third hey infinitive construct with the oath ending, right?
My
The
confidence.
banot.
Third one.
Right. That is true.
So this one has a et. So
Right.
I'm wondering if this is the third hey. I mean, of infinitive construct.
It is. That's why I'm telling you to look at page 240. And you see that little section? It's under first Yod infinitive construct forms. And the bottom one, even though the halak is not a first Yod, it's still functioning like a first Yod. I'm not going to hold that up anymore.
Yeah, we see that.
Right? And it looks just like that word that I was just showing you. You see what I'm saying? And that's why I'm telling you that you should learn all of these weird forms for Nathan, Halak, and Lakah, because they're not going to fit into any of the paradigms that you've learned. Does that make sense?
What you're saying makes sense. The existence of that phenomenon doesn't make any sense.
That is probably pretty valid.
So we should know those. We should know those for the infinitive construct. We should know them for which other form?
Infinitive construct, it's different. I believe the other one that highlights it is the imperative for all 3 of those.
We.
Okay. So look at this again.
Richard made sounds, so I can't see it now.
Okay. Stop making sounds. Look at this. You said there was an inseparable preposition, and the reason you said that is because there's a comment underneath the lamed rather than a holem, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Then take the inseparable preposition off of it, and then you just have to look at this. And the only way that you would know what this is if you know the weird form of it, which is on page 240. And you just found out that it is what?
Halak.
Right? And it's a cow what?
Infinitive construct.
Right.
Mm.
So without any other context, how would you translate halak as an infinitive construct with an inseparable preposition?
To walk.
Yeah.
Balaka. To walk, yeah.
Yeah. With that inseparable preposition
In order.
on top of it, you probably just add in order to walk.
Yeah.
Okay?
Why
How
do we
about the
have a
next one?
comment underneath the lamed?
Why?
Because I thought, I'm just trying to understand. Usually we have the li or the shua, right? And this has a comment.
Yeah, the thing that's going to decide what vowel is underneath the lamed with an inseparable preposition is the vowels that are underneath the next consonant.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it
Like if
gives
you're
you the
looking,
longest
like
form
keep
of the
going
vowel.
in the infinitive construct chapter, start on page 243, and you can see really as far as the inseparable preposition is concerned, the thing that's recognizable is the lamed, not necessarily the vowels underneath it. Because they change based on what the vowels are underneath the next consonant. So if you turn to page 244, you'll see an example of an inseparable preposition with a comment underneath it because of the short pathak underneath the next consonant.
Mhm. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, thanks.
Okay. How about, where'd it go? This one.
So this is your a-o, the
Uh-oh, right.
infinitive absolute.
Mm-hmm. So it's a cal infinitive absolute of what? What's the lexical form?
Azav, which is to work.
Azav. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's awful.
Okay. How about the next one?
Passive participle.
Right.
Masculine singular.
Yeah.
Also of Azav.
Yeah. So that's all the information you need for the parsing, right?
Yes.
Cal, passive participle, masculine singular,
Yeah.
Azav.
The one who worked. The man who worked.
Right.
Awesome.
Good.
Yeah. Man who worked, that he would work, right?
I mean, without anything else to go on, I'm just going to make it substantive. Why not?
Why not?
Right. So if that's all you have and you're asked to translate, then you can make it whichever form you want it to be. As far as attributive and predicative and substantival is concerned.
Okay, I will.
Okay. All right. You guys have 15 more minutes. Oh, also, before I forget, if I ever actually have this class that I'm supposed to have on Monday nights, it typically starts at 6:30. And so I can either shift tutoring to 4:15 and go to 6:15, or I can still start at 4:30 and just stop at 6:15 so I can go to class.
I don't mind starting early.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Doing that. Yes.
Richard, would you be able to get there by 4:15?
Generally,
Generally?
Monday is usually fairly slow. No emergencies have happened yet in the week.
That's good. Okay. All right, then I'm just going to shift it to 4:15 then. And that way it's still 2 hours.
Sounds good.
Works for me.
Okay. Also, I'm really excited that the Wi-Fi has worked the whole time.
That is great.
Okay. Now also you have 15 more minutes. So do you want to keep going with participles? Or do you want to review anything else that could potentially be on your quiz on Saturday?
Yes, let's go over potential things that could be on the quiz.
Okay.
Or will be
You
on
mean the Saturday quiz, not the Wednesday quiz.
Saturday.
Okay. Because for the Wednesday quiz, you're focusing on participles, right?
Maybe.
And
Although 3 of our 4 parsings were participles just now.
yeah, But like as far as paradigms are concerned, you're focusing on participles. And you're copying down any other diagnostics or paradigms that you need to remember how to parse other things.
I am.
And you're used to all of the grammatical questions now, so you're just expecting those to come up on every quiz with an emphasis on whatever is emphasized for that quiz, right?
Totally.
Good. All right. So then, I don't know how long she's going to give you for this quiz, but this quiz is kind of like a test. So it's long. So you're doing all of your vocabulary for all of the chapters up through chapter 22, right?
Eh,
Yeah.
Yes.
At least in some sort of relative sense, right?
sure, why not?
Okay. You should keep doing that. And then, do you remember, we said this earlier, but how many paradigms do you know?
8.
5 big ones and like 3 half ones.
Right. Those are all really good pieces of information to know for a review quiz, a double review quiz.
I got that.
Okay. Which means that you would probably have a long section of parsing, and it would have all of those possibilities mixed in.
Ugh. I less have that.
Okay. But if you have all of your paradigms on there, and you write down any other little tidbits of information, like adding pronominal suffixes and inseparable prepositions and how that changes the parsing and translation and things like Vav consecutive, which you have to include in the parsing information, then that would probably help you so you don't have to kind of come up with all of the parsing on the fly, right?
Yeah, unless it's a first Yod, which we didn't have to memorize that, or a first Nu, which we didn't have to memorize that, but those somehow pop up all over the place, and we didn't have to know them, but we have to know them.
Well, you don't have to memorize them. Like, you don't have to reproduce them, but
you have to know them.
you do need to know them.
Yeah. So you kind of have a philosophical problem there. It's not adding up.
It depends, though.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on if you need to be able to memorize them in order to know them, then you individually should memorize them.
Yeah, it's too late for them.
But if you don't memorize those, but you memorize the rules for them, and you're able to just write those down next to your paradigm, you could do that too.
It could.
And you could know your vocab really, really well. It'd be less of a general sense of vocabulary and more specialized, adding some of those random words that make up their own rules.
Well, we are training to be specialists, Alyssa.
You are.
Like Dr. Petter says, we have to be hot on our vocab.
Always be hot.
Oh, I am.
Yeah, we're gonna do it.
Good. Then you'll be ready.
Fine.
Then, if it's a big review, then you would need to know different kind of grammatical concepts too, for like things that you learned in the beginning of the verbal system and things like pronominal suffixes and things like that. So, like, what's the diagnostic for third hay and third aleph verbs in the cow perfect? Feel free to answer.
I didn't hear you. What?
The diagnostics for third hay and third aleph verbs in the cow perfect, what's that?
Those are things.
Comments.
Right, comments. So then if you know that, then you know what the diagnostic is for the cow perfect, just strong, right?
Yes.
And it's what? Comet's Pathak, right?
Yep.
Okay. What are potential lexical forms, as in what are the vowels that could potentially be in the lexical form of a biconsonantal verb?
The shurek and the yod.
Is it a yod or
I mean like the seam.
right? So what would you call that?
Hirakyo.
Here.
Correct.
And what's another option?
Holenbach. I don't know, is it?
Yes, hol and vav, because those are all. What are those called?
Vowel letters.
Vowel letters.
Yeah.
So you have 3 options for vowel letters for biconsonantals, and it would help if you knew what those options were.
Okay.
Okay. What about what are the vowels that are in geminate strong verbs?
What? That's not a thing.
So there's a levav. So sere and a patak.
What do you mean by geminate strong verb?
Geminates. What are the geminates first? What's a
That-
geminate verb?
That's a verb that's got 2 consonants that are the same.
Right. And if you had the paradigm of the geminate verb, what is the diagnostic vowels that are in it?
No, we didn't memorize that paradigm.
No, you didn't have to memorize that paradigm. But you do need to know the diagnostic so it doesn't throw you off.
Comets.
There's a sere and a patak, like levav.
Is that how that's spelled?
It's comets.
Not sure. Because there's a lev and a levav.
Vav. Comets.
Okay. Lev is just. What's lev?
Lev is just, that's a noun.
Right.
Yeah. Levav. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Comets. Patak.
Yeah.
There's a whole bob in it.
Holenbach in it.
There is a hole and bob in it.
So we have to memorize the paradigm that we didn't have to memorize. Is that what you're telling me? Okay, I got it. Makes sense. Makes about as much sense as everything so far.
Okay. Hold on 1 second. I'm trying to figure out exactly what she's asking.
Yeah.
She wants the whole and bob. You're supposed to know that the whole and bob lets you know that it's a geminate because it replaces the second consonant. Unless you're talking about the 3 and that's or 3.
You do need to know that the hol and vav is diagnostic. But if it's asking for the vowels that are in the lexical form, what is that?
Comets. Patak.
Right.
She asked that?
Perhaps.
What?
And when you're dealing with him, I'm going to move on because I don't, just because. Imperatives. Imperatives are what person, gender, and number?
2 MFSP.
Yeah.
All the
What
2.
about cohortatives?
All the ones.
All the ones.
P1.
Yeah. So then gessives are what?
All 3s.
3.
Good.
And you've got to use let or may with the jussive and cohortative. Don't use shall or you'll get marked off.
Yeah, shall, even though
It's not
grammatically
acceptable.
it actually makes sense, is not acceptable.
What was that?
Use the correct helping verbs.
So the let or may.
Yes, please.
Don't use shall.
Yeah, don't use shall. You get marked off for that.
Even though some respectable Bible translations use shall.
Correct.
So, that's hilarious. I mean, not ha funny, but
But you need to know that let or may are the accepted helping words.
Like I just ate some bad clams, funny.
Yeah.
right.
There are lots of clams up here.
I believe them.
I haven't had any yet, though.
All the crabs come from down here.
They're down in Jackson.
Did you know that they transplant Florida sand onto the beaches up here?
They all come from down here. They import crabs.
Dude, Maryland.
Are
Crabs in Maryland.
yeah.
Deepest, they do not.
They do.
There's no way,
They
dude.
import crabs.
No, we import blue crabs from Maryland.
It's a
We don't
lie.
have blue crabs down
It's
here.
a lie.
Dude, you're full of it.
It's like your Arabica coffee does not come from Arabica.
What?
Don't worry about it.
All
Cat.
right.
Watch
So
the
you know let or may, and how do you know if you're dealing with an imperfect or a cohortative or adjective?
Location, location, location.
Right.
Imperfect, coordinative, and jussive are just at the front of the sentence.
What?
No, I'm sorry. I was thinking imperative has a different form. Don't mind me. It's getting late.
Location.
Location.
Well, the
So
imperfect
if you
always has a
have-
suffix.
What?
The imperfect always has the suffix.
So does a cohortative or adjective.
Right, except for the gender. I mean, if it's either cohortative, which is your first person.
Right. But what I'm saying is a cohortative is first person, but when you're looking at it, it looks just like an imperfect. It's going to look like an imperfect first person. So how do you know whether you need to write down imperfect or write down cohortative?
Whether it's the beginning of that.
Critically here.
Right. It has to be in the beginning of its clause. If it's at the beginning of its clause and it looks like an imperfect first person, then you translate it like a cohortative.
Check.
Okay. A lot of times also it has that comments hey too, right?
Yep.
Right. Hey, what about Vav consecutives? What do you know about those?
They go on perfect and imperfect verbs to communicate narrative sequences.
They do. So if I have a Vav consecutive on an imperfect verb, what would it look like?
Translates like a perfect, and it would look like a vav, pathak, and a doubling dot.
Right.
Yeah.
And so translates like a perfect, tell me what that means.
It is.
Completed.
It translates like a completed action.
Right. What about a Vav consecutive on a perfect verb? What does that look like?
For a while.
Has the wa with the schwa.
Marjoa.
Opera.
Marjoa. See?
Edward G. Robinson. Cut it out.
Okay. But if there's a Vav Shua in front of a perfect, how do you know if that is a Vav consecutive or if it's just a Vav?
How do you know what?
If you have a Vav Shua in front of a perfect verb, how do you know if it's a Vav consecutive or if it's just a Vav?
Context.
That's a cheap answer.
I think it is the answer. But if it's at the front of the sentence as well,
Hold on. I don't think you guys are getting it.
Yeah, well, it's because we learned chapter 17 in the wrong semester.
Okay. I have to remind myself. Good.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes, we are getting it.
So what was that location?
What?
Does it say that again?
The only way to tell if it is a regular conjunction or a verb consecutive is context.
Yeah. Sweet.
Okay. What about the temporal modifiers?
I don't know what that means.
That's also in chapter 17.
I definitely don't know what that means.
Is that a thing?
Temporal modifiers, you have of Vav, Pathak, Yod, Shrek, or no, I mean Yod, Shwa, Hey, Harek, Yod for the imperfect temporal modifier.
Uh-huh.
And then for the perfect temporal modifier, it's just a Vav, Shwa, and then it's Haya.
Right. So the imperfect temporal modifier is telling you what kind of narrative sequence, completed or incompleted action.
Completed. Huh?
Right. The imperfect temporal modifier is telling you completed action. So then the perfect temporal modifier is telling you what?
Future.
Huh?
The future.
Right.
Or
Incompleted action. What about infinitive absolutes? What's their function?
That's the emphasis on the verb.
Right, for emphasis. And what are the functions of the infinitive construct?
That the purpose, result, or intention, one of them. Verbal noun,
Yeah.
inceptive, action about to take place.
Yeah, it would be verbal noun. Hmm. And so the rest is going to be things like that. And then different translations, and you need to remember your pronominal suffixes as well. And I know that she's going to go over this I know she's going to be doing a review on Friday for the review test.
With.
Okay? Do you guys have any other questions? How do you feel about participles?
Actually, pretty okay.
Feel okay? At least parsing them?
I think Switzerland's gone. I think it's just.
Huh?
I think Switzerland's gone. I think they dropped out.
Oh yeah, they definitely took off. They're out of here.
I'm good.
Okay. If you guys need anything, text me or email me or Facebook me or give me a call. Okay?
We will. Thanks, Alyssa.
Okay.
Thanks,
No
Alyssa.
problem.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome. See you guys later.
Bye bye. Thank you, Alyssa.
Bye.